Gary Payton and the Seattle Supersonics.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
John and Sue.
What's up, Averill?
This is Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam. You're watching NorbCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you, doing an Ask Norb episode, which was kind of a spontaneous decision to do this real quick here. But it's Blue Friday. It's the Friday before the football weekend of Week 3, and this is always an exciting time as we're getting ramped up for another weekend of this 2019 NFL season. A lot of stuff going on. It's just been a very eventful week. A very eventful just season so far, with injuries and quarterbacks going down and teams releasing players with rape allegations and a whole bunch of stuff. And so I want to definitely talk about this. And I thought, I've got a buddy of mine who happens to be a Patriots fan, so don't freak out anybody. But he has been on the show before. And I want to bring him on board here because we're going to talk for about the next 45 minutes or an hour, depending on how well and how long this show goes, to discuss from a Patriots fan standpoint, the AB situation and just all things NFL. So before I go to him and bring him on board, first let me just tell you what you need to do in order to participate here. Just look on the screen and call in the number. If you want to be part of the conversation, dial in at 515-606-5121. and enter the code 696153, and you'll be placed in the queue, and I'll get to some of your calls, as many as I can, once we get rolling. So light up this phone board here, and let's get this thing rolling. I see a lot of people in the chat room talking it up. What's up, Brendan? We got Liquid Swords, John McGee. So you guys go in the chat. I'm not going to have, it goes by so fast, I may not be able to address every question that you asked there, but I certainly will be glancing over, and if I catch anything interesting, I'll try to bring it up in our conversation. Let's see, this is live, so if something goes crazy and haywire, hey, it's live TV, and I'm like self-engineering and producing this thing all by myself here. So this is the beauty and the excitement of going live on YouTube. So without further ado, however, I'm still waiting for lines to call in there and start filling up the phone queue. But in the meantime, let me bring on my guest. He may have to battle through the whole music. There's a line. Okay. All right. Let me go to our guest and introduce him right now and get him on board here. There we go. Patriots fan, Mr. Deter McBizness, your daily dose of Deter McBizness podcast. He's been on the show before, diehard Patriots fan, but very active social media user and just of all things NFL. Deter, welcome to Ask Norb on NorbCam. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Norb. Thanks for having me.
All right, I can see you, I can hear you, and that's good. That's a good thing. So
that's a good thing. Yeah, man, my heart goes out to you self-producing all this stuff. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun though. But hey, so before we get into deeper levels of things, Antonio Brown cut by the Patriots today amidst rape allegations, and then I guess this whole thing about him sending threatening texts. Tell me from a Patriots standpoint, what do you make of all this? Is this a surprise? Is this kind of like, something you saw coming? Are you disappointed? Are you like, don't care? What's your take on all this Antonio Brown business?
Yeah, so a couple different things. One is the Boston media saw this coming a mile away. They didn't like the move from the beginning, and whether you listen to radio shows, NESN, local sports coverage, there was just all this kind of talk is like, this is not Randy Moss, this is something else, this is a different animal. We don't want it, we don't need it. Based on the way we played week 1, there was really no indication that we needed any more firepower at the wide receiver position, but it was just Bill, trying to do something special with a very special player. Now, the fan base, I think, was divided. I don't want to say 50-50, because it makes us look bad. It's hopefully it's closer more to like 33-67 in favor of disliking the idea from the beginning. But now that the decision has been made, I think most Patriots fans are glad that he's gone. He is a detestable human being. He's got just a horrible history. We don't need to get into details. I'm sure people have read the SI article and just listened to coverage. The media has been feasting on this story for the last 3 weeks. And now it's behind us. We can focus on football. We already had, Super Bowl aspirations before AB was there, as we always do. But this year in particular, because of the ease of our schedule, which just, it's on a rotation basis. I know it doesn't look fair. Maybe some episode in the future we can talk about how to adjust the schedule to make it a little bit more equitable when you have 3 diseased organizations in one division, those being the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets. But Antonio Brown, man, yeah, like he from not paying people to the rage texts and the social media addiction, it was just this not so different from Josh Gordon in the attitude of you're either going to do what you're told, you're going to behave yourself, or you're going to leave. And obviously he didn't behave himself, and it just became too much baggage. And looking at it on the field, we're going to have a top 5 defense. Our offense is always going to be strong. It'll be, I guess, we'll have to manage our expectations a little bit more. When Antonio Brown signed, the people were already talking about 19-0 before that. And then when he really got there, then people started talking about 19-0 again. I have mixed feelings about whether or not I want that pressure, but there's still no reason to think that if we can get through the tough part of our schedule, which starts with the Browns. We're home against the Browns in week 8. Then we're at Ravens, bye week, at Eagles, Cowboys, at Texans, Chiefs. So that's going from late October through early December. If we can get through those 6 games, we'll see how 19-0 is looking at that point. But for now, yeah, Antonio Brown takes with him a lot of those thoughts about a perfect season, which is probably a good thing. And more importantly, we have one less detestable human being on the team. And in hindsight's 2020, because I confess that I was guilty of being, having these dreams about Antonio Brown and Brady breaking all of Manning's records and all that stuff, blowing teams out, hanging 40 on every team we play, stuff like that. But now that it's over and it's clear that the Patriots have admitted they made a mistake, it calls back to me Aaron Hernandez, and it's like, didn't we learn anything? Haven't we grown as an organization and realized that we don't need to have these distraction characters on the squad? So I don't know. I mean.
I think it's always the fact that anytime you have somebody of extraordinary talent like Antonio Brown, it's the temptation to go, man, if he was on our team, he's got some issues, but man, he's so good, And so I think no matter what, they're always tempted by the fruit, the apple on the tree, that how much better would we be if we had that guy? And we're facing that right now with Jalen Ramsey, all these teams drooling at the chance to get the number 1 cornerback in the league, willing to bet your future on a shot at this guy, right? And, sometimes it works out, and then sometimes it blows up in your face. In this case, I guess it didn't really. I don't think the Patriots really lost anything. I don't know. You tell me. Two questions. Yeah, two questions.
Ahead, yeah.
2 questions. First one is, do you think Antonio Brown really did orchestrate this because he already had a deal in place with the Patriots, so he basically just kind of created his exit so he can go to the Patriots and get that deal done quickly? And then 2, what is it going to cost? Is there any impact to the Patriots at all, the fact that he was only on the team for 1 week and now dropped?
Right. So I'm going to answer that second question first. The reason a lot of people theorize that the reason why he was fired today or cut today was because they were going to owe him $5 million on Monday. And and that has implications which aren't clear at the moment. It's like if they paid him, then we're going to take a $5 million cap hit and then another 4.5 next year. But that might not be the case if we didn't pay him. So it's up in the air whether or not we paid him. But the signs point to that we didn't. I think it's, even if they did pay him, it's worth it to get him off the team. So, yeah, the answer to your second question about the money is going to take some time to answer. We'll probably find out about that next week. And with respect to his attitude and behavior in Oakland, I don't think it was a ploy necessarily to get to New England, but I think he relished the exposure that he got on Hard Knocks, which I admittedly didn't even watch. But, I know it was there, and it's a big opportunity to improve your brand, and so I think he soaked that up, and then he just didn't really like being told what to do. And he's just a baby. He's just a big baby. I saw in odds, there are odds in Vegas right now, will Antonio Brown play again in the NFL this season? And it's minus 600, meaning you have to wager 600 to win 100. So those are horrible odds in favor of no. So he is a radioactive player at this point. It's plus 360 for yes, he will play at this point this season, which are also insane odds. So everybody kind of agrees that he's done for at least this season. Another season, man. I mean, this incredibly talented guy just can't get out of his own way. But, I mean, I don't know his story. I don't know why he is this way, but it's good for the league that he's gotten the boot, and it's saying that no matter what high quality of a player you are, if you live your life this kind of way, this abusively, this irresponsibly, you're not a good enough person to play in the league.
Right. I've got a comment here in the chat from Liquid Swords saying he's sick and tired of hearing about Antonio Brown. Can we not talk the whole segment about him? And which we're not going to. We'll get through this pretty quick. And it said, don't compare Ramsey with Antonio Brown. Ramsey's not an alleged criminal. And I wasn't I wasn't trying to compare him as a person that he was a radioactive, toxic personality. I was simply saying that talent often makes you blind to anything else. And I'm not saying there's a problem with Jalen Ramsey, but he's got a bit of an attitude too. He's one of those guys. He speaks on his mind, and you bring a certain amount of personality to your organization, not just the skills. You bring the whole
baggage,
kit and caboodle, including their personality. We've had a few of those on the Seahawks as well.
Yeah, you have had some characters on the Seahawks. I think Jalen Ramsey would fit right in. That's where I'm hoping he's going. I guess it's either the Chiefs, Seahawks, and one other team, right?
Well, there's a lot of Eagles were in the conversation, even the Cowboys.
But those were the big three that I heard. He wants to go to a contender. You got to believe, cornerbacks don't have terribly long careers. And, he just doesn't want to die in Jacksonville, which is understandable. But, yeah, when you were making that comparison, I knew what you meant, but I knew someone listening and watching was going to be like, yo, he's not a criminal. There's no comparison. But your overall point about the marketplace of talent is right on the money. I mean, you've seen you'll hear old college coaches talk about it, too, where you say, would you discipline a player for this? There are a lot of commentators now on ESPN or whatnot, and be like, well, it depends on how good he was,
Right.
So there's an arbitrary standard for discipline within the context of sports, for sure.
All right, well, let's switch gears because Antonio Brown, that chapter has moved on from the Patriots, and now it's the next saga of what's going to happen to him legally. Is there another team that might pick him up? Would the NFL discipline him? I guess there's a lot of question marks out there, but something tells me a guy of that talent, someone's going to take another shot on him. It's just a matter of time before he does, assuming he doesn't, have any other punishments by the NFL or whatnot. So we'll move away from Antonio Brown. Let's just talk football. So sure. I've been saying a lot on my show that, in fact, a couple of videos ago, I actually said New England Patriots, Super Bowl champions already, ? And my lead into that was basically saying that from my very early glance at the AFC right now, with only 2 games in, I really, after seeing what we did to the Pittsburgh Steelers and seeing Ben Roethlisberger go down, and really looking around at the AFC, I was like, what team can actually take a stand and give even the Patriots some kind of resistance to not showing up and bulldozing their way back to the Super Bowl? And the only name that comes up to me is the Chiefs. That's the only team. And they were the one team that almost did it last year, but didn't quite pull it out. But what do you think? Obviously you're going to be a biased Patriots fan, but in your opinion, what's your take on the AFC, the Patriots, and the outlook on this season at this point of week 2?
I like to think of Patriots fans. I think good, informed Patriots fans are actually quite objective, just because we've been used to so much winning over the years, and our division has been so damn boring that we can't help but become more interested in the NFC because it's a better brand of football and it's just more entertaining at large. In terms of the contenders in the AFC, after the Patriots, it's the Chiefs and the Ravens, and then distant category after that is probably talking about the Browns, Chargers, Bills, Titans, Colts, Texans. The Jags had a good night last night with Minshew or whatever the Minshew era begins. They're only, after the Chiefs, I would say that the Ravens. We'll find out a lot about the Ravens this weekend because they're going into Arrowhead for the Chiefs' first home game of the season. None of these teams have been terribly tested. The Ravens were, crushed the Dolphins in week 1, and then they came back for their home opener, handled business against the Cardinals. Although I did watch that game in detail, there were multiple opportunities for the Cardinals to win that game. So the Ravens still have some growing to do, particularly if you're able to keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket. They got a very strong defense, though, and of course we all know that they're very well coached. I will definitely take John Harbaugh over Andy Reid any day of the week and twice on Sunday. And speaking of the Chiefs, they got off to a hot start against the Jaguars and the Raiders, right? Whoop-de-doo. I mean, there is a huge aristocracy in the league this year, and it's much worse in the AFC than the NFC. And then, of course, the Pats blew out the Steelers, the Patriots, and they also blew out the Dolphins. I mean, we have combined in the last 3 games, including the Super Bowl, allowed of a total of 6 opponent points to the opposition. So it's the AFC has not really been as interesting as the NFC since Manning retired. I mean, it's just they've lost a lot of through lines. There just seems to be more diseased organizations in the AFC. Now, that's not to say the NFC doesn't have its freak show franchises like the Redskins, for example, or I should call them the Washington football team to be culturally sensitive, which is totally legit complaint, by the way. But yeah, I think the Chiefs could do it, especially if they get Ramsey. That could be the missing piece for them because of those 3 teams, the Patriots, Chiefs, and Ravens. The Chiefs have definitely the weakest defense. So if they were able to get a player like Ramsey on their squad, then that would be tremendous. That would be tremendous for their chances late in the year. But they are playing at New England on December 8th. So that's, a big advantage to be hosting that game as opposed to going to Arrowhead. Both the Chiefs and the Patriots have very strong home field advantages. Mm-hmm. So the Ravens are about to play in 2 very insightful games. They're going to play this week against the Chiefs, and then first thing in November, they're going to play at home against the Patriots. So that's a night game. That's on Sunday Night Football, and that'll be another insightful game. I mean, everyone talked a big game about the Browns. Freddie Kitchens is going to have to learn how to coach. I'm just not convinced that a guy who's never been a head coach at any level can come in, even with this much talent, and put together a team that's capable of bringing down either the Patriots or the Chiefs or even the Ravens. But the good news is that those 2 teams play each other twice this season, so that'll be terribly interesting.
Right. Well, we've got a caller here. I'm surprised there aren't more lines on here. I'm just wondering if my setup is working correctly or not. But heck, let's try one of these callers. Let's just see if we can make this thing work and see what's on his or her mind. Calling from the 406 area code. Are you with me? Who's this and where are you calling from? And turn down your computer volume because it's blending into your phone. Hello. Hello, are you there? I can hear you talking. There's an echo. Hello.
Well, we've got a caller here.
Hello there. From the 406.
Yeah, there he is. He's there.
Hey, hello. Are you there? No, area code 406. Hello.
Calling from the 406 area code. Are you with me? Who's this and where are you calling from? Turn down your computer volume because it's blending into your...
This is funny. I'm hearing the show
I know.
Delayed.
It's a little trippy.
Hello,
I don't think he realizes he's even on the show. Hello, 406. Are you not there?
You're talking.
Lay off the ganja.
Hello.
Okay, well, I guess he's not. So,
Hello?
oh,
There he
wait,
is,
whoa,
we got
whoa,
him.
there it is. We got him. We got him.
got him.
Hello, who's this? Where are you calling from?
There, area code 406.
Hello?
You're on with NorbCam. Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Maybe he
Uh-oh.
can't hear you.
Maybe you can't hear me.
Your computer volume because it's blending into your. This is funny.
You there,
brother?
Show, like delayed.
Live TV
Hello?
is great. Hello, are you there?
I don't think he realizes he's even on the show. Hello.
Hello?
So you're not
Hello?
Not seeming to work. All right, let's try. All right, I'm gonna try a different number here. We may have a technical issue. But let's try it anyway.
I got plenty of other stuff to talk
Hey,
about.
what's up? You're on with NorbCam. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello. I have a feeling we've got some technical issues.
Speak. You can hear us through. Maybe you can
Yes.
hear us through the
Hello?
video feed. Just talk, dude. Ask your question, and then we'll
Are you
run
there?
with it.
Okay, all right. Well, we seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulties. Well, let's continue our discussion. I'd like to get, since this is a Seahawks show, and I got a lot of Seahawks fans on here, I'd like to get your take on the Seahawks as a Patriots fan. Obviously, like you said, you get a little bored with some of the weaker teams that you guys have to deal with. The Seahawks, I've been longing for an opportunity to get a rematch in the Super Bowl with you guys ever since that brutal loss in 2014. The 2014 season, and the window to have that opportunity for a rematch, revenge, whatever you want to call it, with this version of the Patriots, and I'm talking about the Belichick-Brady version, because if we go meet you guys 10 years from now, it's not going to be the same thing. I want the rematch with this version, and can't get that phone, but I'd like to get your take on the 2019 Seahawks, because I've been saying this is a lot like the 2013 Seahawks that we had when we did make it to Super Bowl 48. And I'd like to see what your take is on our team from what you've seen and heard so far.
Yeah, I think this is the year, man. Be careful what you wish for. I think it's either you or the Cowboys coming out of the NFC. This is one of the most lopsided years in both conferences, but much more so with the AFC. It's the field is a little bit more wide open on the NFC side. But I love the Seahawks this year. I think you guys have got a great squad. I think it's a very different culture, and I think with the success that the Patriots have had over the last 2 decades, it's easy to see anything that's different from the Patriots as not as good, but that's not true. You guys have built a winning tradition there for the last 10 years, and it's probably due to Pete Carroll's fundamental understanding of how to manage the operations of a successful football team. He's not an X's and O's type of guy, but it starts with him, and he's always been a tremendous talent evaluator. I think that you guys play in a tough division, but you have a tremendous home field advantage. And whoever the genius was that came up with the architectural design of your stadium to make it as loud as possible is, genius, because you all catered your style of play to that, having a big, fast, physical defense. So the only thing you worry about as an outside observer with the Seahawks, someone that, pays attention to point spreads and gambling and what the public thinks about certain outcomes, is their performance away from home. And you and I have been in touch over text for the last few months, and I texted you after week 1, after you skated by the Bengals, because you had that, you guys are a little bit like the Patriots in that you do start a little slow. Usually, I think you started at 0-2 last year and still made the playoffs.
That's correct.
And yeah, so, you usually give one up in September and then you find your footing. But I think that was a big growth year for you guys last year. And now, you're ready to take the next step and make it to Championship Sunday with that number 1 or number 2 seed. But the thing that I was going to say about with us texting was that, you in your season-long prediction video predicted that the Steelers would win week 2, which is understandable because West Coast teams in the 10 a.m. Pacific time slot playing an East Coast team are at a real disadvantage. There's a lot of statistics to show that it really hurts your chances of winning when you're that team. If I were in charge of the league, I would never have a West Coast team play in that 10 a.m. time slot. I would always have them play in the 1 p.m. Pacific time slot, just out of the fairness. But, the league, I think we might agree that the league clearly has some agenda in certain contexts, and that becomes obvious on the field sometimes. But I think that the Seahawks are really strong this year. I predicted them to win your division, and I also predicted them to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl before the season got started. And I also predicted the Rams. I hate the Rams, by the way. We can do this real quick.
That makes two of us, but go on.
I mean, of all of the teams, and this is like a recent thing, and it's because I live in Los Angeles, just for clarity for people watching, because we got a text about this last time. I am from New England, but I live in Los Angeles. The Rams have a joke of a fan base, and McVay gets way too much credit because Wade Phillips is the reason that defense is so awesome. And then, I think Goff got exposed in the Super Bowl, which they shouldn't have been in to begin with. It should have been the Saints. I know we agree on that one. Everybody agrees on that one. That's like a 99-1 shot. And they also, Gurley's got arthritis. I felt a concerted effort by the sports media world to promote the Rams because they were a good Los Angeles team in a new market, and they're trying to build up that fan base. But unfortunately for the NFL, Los Angeles is the most fair weather sports city in the entire universe. And when I was watching the Patriots beat the Rams in Super Bowl 53, I was at a Los Angeles bar, and a Rams fan, there was 2 Rams fans there wearing jerseys at a Los Angeles bar. Everybody I was with, I had like 10 people with me, we were all wearing jerseys. And somebody was trying to get the chant of whose house, whose house. And, of course, you say, you guys do the Seahawks thing. It's a little bit different for them. But, you expect to hear Rams house, but nobody got into it. And so I picked a fight. I said, whose house? And I said, Pat's house. And we all we got tater tots thrown at us the whole 9 yards. It was hilarious. But that's all a long-winded way of saying that I think the Rams are going to be like an 8-8 team, hopefully worse. But I like the Niners. I like the Niners growing up as a kid. There's a weird connection with Jimmy G going there, and I just think that would be such a great rivalry to renew, like back when you went to Super Bowl 48 and you had those great rivalry games with the Niners and Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick, and those were just strong physical battles that reminded me a little bit of the way that the Ravens-Steelers rivalry used to be back in the days when the Steelers were winning playoff games or making the playoffs to begin with. So it's the physical rivalries obviously is not something you get as a Patriots fan. And I think it's a real reason why a lot of friends of mine pay attention to the Seahawks as well as the Niners. I think because the Niners have actually a pretty solid D. But, yeah, I expect you guys to win the division. And the team to watch out for in the NFC is the Cowboys, as far as I can tell. Yeah. That's the other team that I would be worried about. Packers and Vikings. Packers, anyway, we can talk more about that later.
Well, and I agree there. The Cowboys definitely seem like they've come together and are a pretty solid unit. The 49ers definitely look good. I do feel like the rivalry between the Seahawks and the 49ers is back, which is actually a good thing for football in general, and it's a great thing for the NFC West. But the Rams, you predicted 8-8. They're off to a 2-0 start right now, and granted, it was against a breezeless, or at least partially breezeless, New Orleans Saints team that I picked that to win.
He was out pretty early in that game. Right. I think we're going to find out a lot about the Rams this Sunday when they're at the Browns. The Browns had, it's a short week for them. That's always a bummer when you see a marquee matchup like this, and one of the teams was playing on Monday Night Football the previous week.
Ugly game.
I think the Browns. So the Browns are 3-point dogs in that game at home. I think this is where you see what a good dynamic offense can do against that Rams D. And you're also going to see a defense that's getting better in the Browns, or at least it has a little bit more confidence than it did, the previous week. I think you're going to see them find their footing as well and take care of stopping the Rams running game and put the pressure on Jared Goff to win the game. And, I think we saw it in the Super Bowl. When there's pressure on Jared Goff, he's going to fold like a cheap suit.
Right. Well, I do hope that that's the case when they face them. But let's talk a little bit about the Seahawks and the Saints game coming. Actually, let me try something here. I just want to give this the college try and see if we can still try to get one of these callers, see if it'll work. Let's try it one more time.
Your viewers aren't going anywhere. They love you.
Well, I'm going to, well, they can't talk to me if they can't hear us, but let's try this. All right, from the 720, can you hear me? You're on with NorbCam. Silence. I don't think it's on purpose.
Just tell him to start talking because he can hear us.
I know. I exactly. Let me try this again. Can you hear me? Hello. Let's try this. Hold on. I got this.
Hey,
what's up? You're with NorbCam. Can you hear me? Oh, they're so wanting to talk, but they can't hear us.
Hey, Bud, if you can hear us, just give us your take. Just start talking.
Yeah, give us your question. You may not be able to hear us, but if you're listening to the broadcast, tell me your question if you got one. Oh, silence. Nope, I lost it. All right. Well, that's okay. Technical difficulties. You can't have it all. Well, let's talk about this Saints. I think that's where I was going with this, right? The Seahawks-Saints game. So we were talking about the spread on this game, and without Drew Brees, they're 4-point favorites. The Seahawks are, and at home, that's not much of an edge. Tell me your take, how you see this game playing out. Is that a what does that mean to you? Seeing that the numbers coming out that way, I thought it would be higher, but it's a little surprising. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the market, the public and the sharps, so people who don't know gambling, the sharps are the people, the professional gamblers, and the public are just, regular folks. So it seems to me like there's disagreement about how good the Seahawks are. They weren't as respected as the Rams going into this season. And the only reason that I can come up with as to why this spread is so low is because they didn't beat a great team in the Steelers last weekend, and it was still a close game. And they also faltered. They were 10-point favorites against the Bengals in week 1. So the public is probably gun shy about getting back into the Seahawks because of that week 1 performance at home. And I think that, that's an opportunity for people who are actually paying attention and watching these games, because the best bet on the board, as far as I'm concerned, is the Seahawks -4 or -4.5 against the Saints this weekend. I think they're going to win by 10, 15, 20. I could see a 20-plus point blowout for the Seahawks. The Saints are not a well-rounded team. Their team is about an explosive offense that controls the pace of the game and the defense that is good enough to mitigate the opposing team's offense. Now, that's not the kind of defense that travels well. It's also, their backup situation. They've got Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. Nobody really knows who's going to start. Maybe they declared a starter. It doesn't matter who's starting between the two of them. They're not Drew Brees, and they've never dealt with the Seattle noise. That noise is a huge advantage, especially when you're going against an inexperienced quarterback or someone who hasn't played there a whole lot. Now, Bridgewater has, so maybe they'll go with him as a starter. He's played there a couple of times. But yeah, when the spreads came out and I saw that one just popped out like no other to me, I was very surprised to see that Vegas only has the Seahawks as a 4.5 point favorite over the Saints, because Breeze, they got worked last week against the Rams. Even if they had gotten that scoop and score touchdown, it would have been a different game. But they were physically worn down at the end of that game. Now they did
do
stay on
do
the
you think
West
it would have been
Coast.
different if Drew Brees did not get injured? Do you think that game would have had a different outcome?
Absolutely, don't you?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Absolutely.
I guess
Absolutely.
I guess that's really what it comes down to, is that we all know the quarterback is the most important position on the team, and which is the whole thing going into this. Even with Drew Brees as quarterback, the Saints are 0-3 the last 3 meetings here in Seattle, and so
Yeah.
the home field advantage
Right.
is definitely a real thing. And just in the same way, we have not beaten the Saints our last several times down in New Orleans. So it's an extremely valuable home field advantage, and we get that coming into this Sunday. And then without Drew Brees, like you said, that's a lot of stuff that I think swings in our favor. Yet Vegas doesn't seem to see it that way. But
You could argue that the Saints and the Seahawks have the most consistent home field advantage in all of the NFC. You know, the Packers come to mind, but that's not as much of an advantage early in the season because it's fair weather up there. But, you know, regardless of the weather, Seattle's always a difficult place to play. You know, you guys should have been in control of that game against the Bengals going into halftime because you would have won more comfortably because of that stupid play that
gave up the touchdown.
That gave up he mistimed his jump that gave up the easy touchdown for the Red Rifle Andy Dalton, so the great Cincinnati Bengals. But you know, I mean, the first 3 weeks of the season are the new preseason. That might have something to do with it. But when you do the math on spreads, you get 3 points just by being the home team, which means that on a neutral field, the Seahawks are only favored by 1.5 points over the Saints without Drew Brees. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. You guys have the more complete team, and, you know, obviously you're playing at home. So I was shocked. I thought it was going to be at least an 8-point spread. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe Vegas is smarter than everybody else thinks. I guarantee you the public is on top of that line. Guarantee you.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully Seahawks more than cover and win that ball game. I expect, like you do, a much larger than 4-point win. So we'll see. We've got, you know, well, although I had some, you know, there was some concerning injury news that came out just today. Rashad Penny hurt his hamstring in walkthroughs today. So he is questionable to go.
And he's your number two. He's your number 2 running back.
He's number
right?
2.
Carson.
So Chris Carson's number 1. So at least I'm not as freaked out as I'd be if it was Chris Carson. So Chris Carson's the workhorse, but Rashad Penny had a rushing touchdown against the Steelers, makes for a nice 1-2 punch and gives him a little bit of break there. Sure. And then we also, but we do have Ziggy Ansah, who we got from Detroit in the offseason, making his debut as a pass rusher. This game. So Ziggy Ansah on one side, Jadeveon Clowney on the other side. I'm excited to see that duo get rolling. Not to mention our draft pick, LJ Collier, just got on the field for the first time last week. And eventually we get Jaron Reed once we get to game number 6. So we've got a bunch of pass rush cavalry coming. They're working their way back into the system. And once we get Jaron Reed, who had like 12 or 13 sacks last year, if he can get back to form, I mean, I just think we're going to be, like you said, we start slow and we get rolling especially if we get into November, December. So the fact that we're 2-0 right now is a really nice thing because usually we're always having to climb back from the bottom and work our way back up. But it's nice to be 2-0 at this point, and I think you guys are going to get all the breaks this weekend. You're going to win on special teams. You're going to win on turnovers. You're going to win on third down conversion percentage. Russell Wilson's going to have nice short fields. That's I think going to be the key to success for you guys. That's when the Seahawks are at their best, is when their defense is just crushing the opposing team's offense and not letting them find any rhythm. And then Wilson comes in with his QB rollouts, and you guys have that kind of occasionally college-style offense. But no doubt I think you guys, it's a little annoying that you have Penny there because that won't make your play-action game as strong. But I don't think it matters against this defense. Yeah, and I think and just that home field advantage, and they're really going to be buzzing this weekend, coming off of the high of beating the Steelers last week. And, it's always rocking in CenturyLink Field anyway, but coming into 2-0, they're really going to be giving the Saints more than they can handle from a crowd standpoint. So we just got to not, the main difference from teams of the past and like in 2013 is, we've had the luxury of a lockdown secondary for so many years with the Legion of Boom. And now it's probably the one part in our, defense that is the big question mark. We've got, who's our safety, who's our true strong safety, free safety. I think our corner. Oh, that was the other thing. Trey Flowers, our right side cornerback, is questionable now with an injury. So again, the one part that's really in flux, we've had so many moving parts in the secondary, cornerback and safety with injuries and just trying to figure out who's really the guy. That's the part that, thank goodness, we don't have Drew Brees there, with pinpoint accuracy hitting guys down the field. That's the part that I feel like is still going to be tested.
Because that's how the Bengals beat you guys, right? Because their running game was like last in the league, so they didn't
even try to run the ball. I mean, they went like 8 or 9 or 10 straight plays, all passes. They were like, forget running. We're just going to throw it at these guys, and they did a lot of mostly underneath stuff, and then they started hitting stuff, bigger over the top with some trick plays. But John Ross, who's we're very familiar with up here because he came from UW. He's a great receiver with great top end speed. So I think this is the first time we've really seen him kind of do what we kind of thought he'd do when he made the transition. He just got injured early, so we never really saw the John Ross that we were seeing here at UW, where he was running just breakaway long, post routes and fly routes, go routes, and just taking the top off defenses.
So I remember John Ross. John Ross was the wide receiver that basically carried Washington to the tournament, right? And then they got worked in
and we played Alabama. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So he's starting to, do some things over there. But yeah, Bengals just kind of got to keep getting there in their own way. But
I tell you, man, it's been a rough start to the league. I mean, just a recap of the drama that has happened so far. Luck retired. Roethlisberger's done for the season. Yep. Foles is done for the season. Breeze is out 6 to 8 weeks. Sam Darnold, who, of course, the league wants the Jets to be relevant because they're in New York. That's the biggest market in the country. Yeah. He has mono. Wentz is out this week versus the Lions, and Cam Newton is out this week versus the Cardinals. That's 7 name brand players in the NFL that are either out for the season, out for this week, or out for a substantial amount of time. That's devastating.
Right. And what a freakish thing too. You have your quarterback with mono. It's just who gets mono anymore? And it's I didn't realize it was so debilitating, because they're saying, I talked to a very passionate Jets fan who I have on the show, Gangrene David, and I asked him, so what's the prognosis on him? And he's like, indefinite. We have no idea. It might be several weeks. So I just never realized it was such a devastating thing that you can get. But man, it's just like watching that Monday night game was so brutal. It's
like chicken pox, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you usually get it when you're a kid, and then once you've had it, you have immunity to it, and you never get it again. But so, I mean, like, the people that I know have had mono, they all had it in high school. It's like the kissing disease. They call it the kissing disease.
Yeah,
because that's how you get it.
That's what I thought too. It was one of those high school diseases. That's just weird. But anyway, so for those of you guys who are watching and jumping in the middle of this, wondering who is this guy? This is a Patriots fan, as you know from the title. But this is Deter McBizness. Tell him a little bit more about, I guess, who, besides being a Patriots fan, what do you do? I see a lot of people in the chat saying this guy's actually pretty smart. Tell people what are you? You know a little bit about everything, but what's your background in all this?
So from Boston originally, went to college and studied media and communication, and public speaking, stuff like that. And then I got into management consulting, which was corporate America. Thought I wanted to go to business school, and then I got into film producing, and that's where I went to UCLA Film School, finished there in 2012, and been working on the development side of the film industry for the last 7 years. And that, people might not take that word development, can you hear that, Norb? I think we got some technical difficulties.
Oh yeah,
but I'm just gonna go.
It's fine. I was kind of messing around with the phone thing, but you're still good. We can't hear it here. It's all behind the scenes. But go ahead.
So anyway, so I read feature film scripts and tell people what they think of them, and then I try to raise money for them. I'm working on an exciting one right now that I will hopefully be able to talk about soon, involving the criminal justice system, a wrongfully imprisoned citizen. but I can't get into more detail about that right now. But yeah, so I also have done 2 podcasts. I do one on politics called All Business Politics, and then I do another one called NFL Cash Money, which I'm going to be premiering out soon next week. And I want to take this opportunity to let everybody know, and maybe we'll get some feedback from it, because I know you're in frequent communication with your audience about a lot of cross collaborations like this. So a lot of YouTubers have their own shows representing different teams. There's a guy who does the Cowboys really well, a guy who does the Niners really well, Eagles, all. There's basically one badass NFL YouTube content creator per team in the league. And part of what we're doing today, Norb, is the start of trying to build that network into an online community where we're on each other's shows and fan bases are interacting by way of our interaction on camera. And I think that's kind of that's part of my producing background, is trying to build up this source of content and making sure that we're tapping into all avenues that the NFL fan community has to offer, because I think fans, it's the NFL is different from every other sports entertainment product out there. You know, there's only one game a week. It's not like basketball or baseball where there are a ton of games, right? It's a ritual. It's always on the same day. There are an even number of teams. Everybody understands the different divisions. Most fans could rattle off the name of every single team in the league and have opinions about teams in other conferences. For example, my hatred of the LA Rams, with the smallest fan base in the entire universe. So I think there's a lot of value in us getting to know each other and making sure that we let each other know about the different fan bases. And on that note, I want to give a special shout out to the Buffalo Bills fan base, because Josh Allen is playing really well, and the Patriots are actually going to get challenged by them, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. And who doesn't love it when the Buffalo Bills, I think it's the smallest media market in the entire league, is actually getting some love. And you got to respect those fans, because
all
they have been
participants are
through
unmuted.
a wasteland for the last 2 decades.
Yeah, that's right.
Bills
Yeah,
out there. We gotta love you guys. How fun would it be if the Bills got good again? That would be hilarious.
it'd be good if somebody in the AFC East could freaking get good again. Because it's just the same movie over and over again coming out of the AFC East. I mean, the Patriots are great and everything, but come on, the rest of you guys.
It's ownership.
Jeez.
It's ownership and the management of the organizations themselves. The guy who owns the Jets, Woody Johnson, part of the Johnson & Johnson family, he doesn't cap out every year. They don't cap out every year. I mean, if you want to be competitive in this league, you need to cap out every year. So
right.
That's an infection. And then the Dolphins, obviously, everybody knows how diseased they are, and they're just tanking this year. But good for them, because that's what they need to do to get
clean the house out. Yep, scorched earth. All right, I'm not going to give up on these callers here, so I'm going to try
again.
this.
Yeah,
I've tried every little behind the scenes, trying every little connection I can.
And start off with, if you can't hear me but can only hear me from the show, just start talking and we'll listen.
So I've got Devin from Puyallup, a regular caller of the show, and I'm going to the Puyallup Fair tonight, by the way, so I'm heading your neck of the woods. Devin, can you hear me? If you can't, but you hear the show, just say something and tell me what's on your mind, because we can still answer your question even though you can't hear me asking it. Devin, are you there? Nope. I'm trying so hard, man.
Oh man, I hear you. You need a producer.
Yeah, well, I thought we were doing all this troubleshooting. Thought I had it nailed, and what the heck? Devin? Nope, not there. Devin, are you there? We're gonna try this one. Devin? Hello? Devin, are you with me? Earth to Devin. Come in, Devin. All right, I guess this is not working. That's not my day. Just not your day, folks. Sorry, guys.
It's all good. Did you catch anything? Have you caught anything cool in the chat or anything like that?
Man, there's been a lot of stuff going in the chat here. You could actually, if you were to follow the live, you could see it on your end too. But
oh yeah, I guess I could. The YouTube stuff. Anyway, I'm thinking about coming up to Seattle for a game. By the way, I was thinking about coming up maybe for that Ravens game or
the return of Earl Thomas.
I got a couple of really close friends who live in Seattle, and maybe I'll come up for New Year's. That Niners game, I really want to see you guys take on the Niners.
That game could have some serious implications if this season, the start to this season means anything. It's very possible that last game could have serious implications on the
Niners are good,
seeding.
man. They got a solid defense. They've got, remember, you only play 8 away games all season, right? Well, they've already played 2 of theirs and they won both of them. So they're off to their 2-0 is a little bit more valuable than yours as it stands right now. But I still think you guys are the better team. I think in terms of development, you're a year ahead of where they would be. But yeah, man, I'd love to come up and come see a game at the Clink.
Yeah. Well, if you come up, we definitely have to meet up, and I'd love to show you around, at least on game day, and we can do a few pre-game stuff. It'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Would you be wearing your Patriots gear, though, when you come up?
I would wear my Patriots gear, and there's another NFL. I'm looking at that Ravens game, October 20th. That would be tight. Yeah. I would love to see that matchup. And then there's Monday Night Football against the Vikings on December 2nd. That would be kind of fun. Because I might want to go later in the year, because then I could go skiing, because I know you guys got some cool skiing up there.
Yep, that we do.
Yeah, no, it's a great lifestyle.
Yeah.
Very jealous. You get to go fishing for salmon, man. That's so special. You guys are so spoiled.
Yes, I know. We live in a fantastic area. A little bit of everything up here, and it never gets too hot, unlike your end of the woods pretty much the rest of the country this year. It's like everywhere was like 100+ degrees, while we got about the hottest we got here was like 95. So, most of the time it's a pretty cool, pretty moderate climate, which just suits me. Although we had really bad snow this year. This was kind of unusual. We had we had 2 weeks of school canceled because of snow.
Oh, really?
It was just out of this world. Yeah.
Well, the Sierras, I know the Sierras got hit pretty hard. I took a year off a year ago while I was working, but I was working remotely and going skiing in Lake Tahoe. I know that this year the Sierras got dumped on, so I'm not surprised that your climate was affected by that as well. That's cool, though. Do you ski?
I used to ski. I don't do it as much now. Knees don't hold up as well, so I haven't gone in a while. But I don't know. I might have to pick it up again, because my knees are actually better. There had a point where I had knee pain that was preventing me from doing some of the activities I wanted to do. But since then, it's gotten better. I'm back to playing volleyball, and if I can play volleyball, I can probably ski again. So it's just been a long time, man. But yeah, I used to do a lot back in college and years after. But it's been some time. But
right on.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see if there's any other questions on here. Yeah, sorry guys, I could not get the phone lines working. We'll try this again some other time.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger part of the show. We'll do more live stuff over the course of this season. I love coming on and seeing you. And we're going to hook up with some other YouTubers and get some live content, and hopefully get some fan versus fan interaction as well.
Yeah. But this was a good start. Haven't done the Ask Norb live show in a while, but it was great to have you back as a guest. I always appreciate your insight, despite the fact that you're a Patriots fan. But no, it's like I said, it would be a mini dream come true to see the Seahawks and the Patriots go at it one more time in the Super Bowl. And I hope you alluded to the fact that you could see that possibility very realistically happening, that it might just come down to who can win in the NFC Championship, the Seahawks or the Cowboys. And believe me, I want a revenge shot at them too, because they knocked us out of the playoffs last year, which they really shouldn't have, because we could have easily won that game if we had done a couple things differently. That's a whole nother discussion. So I want that last shot before Tom Brady and Bill Belichick ride off into the sunset.
Would love to see you, man.
It would be. I think
it would be a blast. The only thing I worry about is if the NFC Championship game is the Seahawks and Cowboys. I wonder if the league might not hook up the Cowboys a little bit to try to get that mega market versus mega market matchup, like they seemed to do last year with LA. Right. That is super sketchy. That was a super sketchy no call. I mean, everybody saw it. And it's like there's a clear and obvious incentive for them to have wanted the Patriots to be playing the Rams as opposed to the Saints. or whoever came out of that AFC game, because well, obviously the Chiefs don't have as big of a market, but that's one thing. All your listeners, viewers and listeners, check out the Chiefs and the Ravens. They're going to be, and the Browns. Those will be the three teams outside of the Patriots and the AFC that'll be interesting to watch. And check them out on Game Pass or highlight. Try to watch a little bit more than the highlights, because regular sports media, they don't show you the whole games, and you kind of need to watch the whole games to appreciate the flow. And that's what I like about the Seahawks right now. Having watched both those games multiple times, you found your mojo down in Pittsburgh, and now that was a huge win for you all, and I expect like a 3-touchdown win this weekend. And then you got at Cardinals, and then we'll find out what the Rams are really made of at Thursday Night Football when they come to you. It sucks to play on Thursday. One of the best bets, by the way, in the last since they've been doing Thursday Night Football, there have only been like 2 away dogs that have actually covered. One of which, by the way, was the Buccaneers last weekend, who actually won the game outright. So for all you gamblers, listen, check if you're going to bet Thursday night, which I don't usually recommend because it's a short week and it's, the only bet you can wisely make on a Thursday night is the home team, but whether or not they cover is, up for grabs. But I like you guys. I think you're going to smoke the Saints. I think you're going to smoke the Cardinals. And then remind everybody who owns the West on Thursday Night Football, October 3rd. That would be a good one.
That'll be the first real. Well, I don't want to look past the Cardinals because they've got. They're one of those teams that they're not there yet, but they've got some pretty good talent. Obviously, our quarterback out there is pretty dynamic. But you have Kyle Murray, but they've got some. They're still in that transitional period where they're still trying to get their legs underneath them. But they're going to cause some trouble for some teams, and they should
it's
really.
It's going to be a tough division.
They should have a win already under their belt.
They should have won that Lions game. And I tell you what, if you watch that Cardinals-Ravens game from last week, Cardinals had some good. I mentioned it earlier in the show. The Cardinals had some good chances there to make that game more competitive than it ended up looking. And Lamar Jackson played probably the best game of his career so far. So what? Yeah, I mean, Cardinals will be one of those teams that'll be annoying to play at the end of the season. You're psyched you're playing them now, but you're not psyched you're going to be playing them in the second to last week of the season, but at least you're playing them at home. So you guys are getting hooked up. You guys are getting hooked up on the schedule. The only thing that sucks, I'm looking at your schedule now, is the next 2 East Coast games are both in the 10 a.m. time slot, at Browns and at Falcons. Yep. After that, and then you've got another 10 a.m. game in middle of December, but it's at the Panthers. And the Panthers, dude, I am so over Cam Newton and the Panthers. I have wanted him to be good. I went to school in the SEC for undergrad, and I have this thing about following the SEC players. And I don't normally like Auburn guys, but I really liked Cam coming out of there. And he is just that team they have not done right by him, and he has not done right by them. I mean, talk about dysfunction. And now that Breeze is out, watch out for the NFC South. The Bucs might end up winning that one. How hilarious would that be?
I know, because
Bruce Arians comes in and takes famous Jameis Winston to the playoffs in his first year. That would be hilarious.
That would be crazy. But with the Saints, what happened to the Saints? Because obviously the Saints was the obvious pick before the season started. Now with Drew Brees gone, that's changed. Now with Cam Newton benched, right? They benched Cam Newton. We don't know what's going on.
No, he's got a foot. No, he's out with a foot injury.
Oh, he's just injured. Okay, all right. But so he's not playing. Bottom line, he's not playing. So he's not on the field. So,
Yeah, watch out, man. I think the Cardinals could get their first win of the season this Sunday.
Yeah, it very well could be. But, the Falcons, though, I don't know. What do you think about the Falcons? I guess I saw the schedule. I'm seeing that Atlanta game. I thought, we don't do very well down there in Georgia. A lot of bad memories of losing big games down there. But it's
a tough place to play, but if anything travels, defense and running game travel. So I think you're going to have a good chance at that. And I'm not impressed with the Falcons' mental toughness. I rarely am when it comes to a dome team. I think the toughest dome team in the league might be the Indianapolis Colts, actually. And those two teams play each other this week, so that'll be a very insightful
that'll be a fun
matchup
game to watch. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I expect you guys to struggle at the Browns, but I expect you to win every home game. I mean, it's just whether or not that happens. Maybe you drop one like the Ravens or a stupid one against like the Niners at the end of the season if it doesn't matter or something like that. But I love your schedule. The biggest challenge, I think I think the next 3 games you're going to handle business. That's including the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And then the next big test is, can you go into the AFC North for a 10 a.m. game against the Browns and win, and then come back the next week, play one of the best teams in the league and the Ravens and win that one. So you guys got I always, after the Patriots, I would venture to say I pay more attention to the Seahawks than any other team, just because I find their game so freaking exciting. I mean, that's the knock on the Patriots is that we kind of play a boring grand. Yeah, we play. I mean, how many times are you going to watch Tom Brady throw it to the running back in a circle route coming out of the backfield? Like, it happens all the time, and that's how we pick it up. And it's a modern day West Coast offense, and it wears teams down because we always dominate time of possession. So I know you've got a lot of younger viewers, and I'll just sign off with this, but if you're going to pick 3 stats to pay attention to, because everybody gets caught up in the numbers these days, data analytics, all right? If you want to look at turnovers, third down conversion percentage, and time of possession. And that time of possession one, that's the one that not a lot of people pay close enough attention to. If you want to figure out who is really going to have legs come the end of the season, it's the teams that know how to manage the clock. And that's what I worry about with you guys is don't get caught up in the bomb. Get those nice 7-8 yard, second and third downs, and embrace third and manageable. That is what the Patriots do better than anybody else. We are not afraid of third and manageable. We look forward to that down, whereas a lot of teams are very nervous and they get a false start penalty, and then it's 3rd and 12 instead of 3rd and 7. Things like that. And that's what you guys got to stay disciplined. Don't freaking get penalties.
Yeah, that's been killing us. Our biggest weakness so far has been exactly that. Has been penalties and pass protection. I mean, those are our 2 woes, and of course, it's the same group. It's the offensive line. So we're not going to suddenly remake our offensive line. So they're just going to have to play better, and I think they will. Plus, Russ, they kind of switched their game plan up and did what you were talking about. They got a quick release going on. Wilson was getting rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds, and we were just moving the ball, sustaining the drives in Pittsburgh, especially in the second half, to avoid the sacks. And we had a couple of long drives and ended up killing the clock at the end of the game to not ever give the Steelers a chance to come back. So I like the fact that they switched that up and started doing that more because, heck, if you can't
it's a modern offense.
Yeah,
it's a pro offense. It's time for the Seahawks to grow up and be a real NFL team. No more of this college stuff,
Oh man. Well,
you're always going to have some of that. You're always going to have a lot of that, which is great about your team. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see how this weekend goes. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up. This is about the time I said we were going to wrap things up. So. Sorry we weren't able to get the calls out this time, guys. We'll get that worked out for next time. But I hope you enjoyed this little conversation that we had. Covered a lot of stuff. I actually found it very educational for myself. So I want to say again, thanks to Deter, McBizness, for coming on board here and sharing some of your time and your insight on not only the Antonio Brown situation, but the Patriots and the league in general. I think we both have the same vision of our 2 teams making it to the Super Bowl. Right now, yours, I can't see really much resistance other than maybe a couple of teams out there in the AFC. We've got a few more that we got to get through, but I do like our chances, and I love our start right now. And it would be so awesome to do a collaboration show where we're talking about 2 days, 3 days, or maybe more, because I might go to that Super Bowl if we make it. But doing a little collab show talking about the Super Bowl and the Seahawks rematch with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Oh man, it would be so special. Just be careful
dream.
What you wish for, because we wanted the same thing against the Giants and they beat us twice. So just be careful.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I'll remember that. All right, man. Well, thanks for watching again. Check out his podcast. Look him up on YouTube as well. It's just Deter McBizness, right?
That's all you got to do is Deter McBizness. Search that, and you'll find everything on me.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all you guys who tried to call in. And for those of you guys who just watched and participated in the chat, thank you guys. And we'll definitely do this again and hopefully get a few more other team YouTubers out there. That's definitely something we're working on doing. So that's great, man. Thanks again for your time. And
let's do it again soon, dude. Thanks for having me, and go Pats.
Go Hawks. All right. Take care, guys.